then Clinton was the sort of the first, I think, Democrat, at least elected president, who made that shift. And this was following obviously Reagan and Thatcher, which I think was sort of like when that shift really started to take hold. So I guess in the end, like what do you think if Joe Biden, and I will take your premise, because I think it's plausible that he wants to do something more ambitious, but has no way of understanding even what that means in some respects. But let's say, you were able to create Keynes in some type of laboratory. I don't want to get too involved in this, but I mean, look, you've written 600 pages on him. It's getting wild reviews. You have a very good sense of hard to project where he would be if he was still alive in terms of his thinking. But if you were to take the essence of his philosophy, like what would you, two questions. Who would be the person you would want Joe Biden talking to? And what do you think that they would say?
Well, look, I mean, Joe Biden should talk to me. It's obviously the person that I would want Joe Biden to talk to. But there are very few times in each generation when ideas really do matter. When new thinking has the ability to change the direction of the world, and I think we are in that moment right now. And I think we were in that moment in the 1960s as well, when Keynesianism sort of transformed from this. It was under the pressure of McCarthyism. So it's not like these people were just, totally venal, right wingers or something. I mean, there was a lot of pressure there was a belief that maybe the ideas and the structure of thinking about the economy that Keynes developed would completely go away. But the idea of Keynesianism as this scientific, mathematical, precise project, I think was very, very devastating for it in the 1970s, because you had people like Paul Samuelson who were interpreting Keynes and saying, look, we've looked at the data and it's very clear that you can't have inflation and unemployment at the same time. You have one or the other, and you can kind of manage the economy by having more unemployment or more inflation, but not both at the same time. So when you end up with both of them at the same time, it's devastating to the intellectual legitimacy of this project. I think by the time Clinton comes around, I don't necessarily think Bill Clinton is somebody who is sort of dyed in the wool as a neoliberal. That's just the intellectual hegemonic character of the times. This is considered science by the economics profession. All of the experts are saying this is the way the world works. And right now, all of the experts are kind of acknowledging they don't really know the way the world works. I mean, if you go back and read some of the stuff that Larry Summers has been saying, I mean, he's been trying to make up for some of the more damaging aspects of his legacy, but he's saying, everything that we did before was wrong, and we have to come up with a new way of approaching it. I think there are a lot of advisors to both the Bernie Sanders and the Elizabeth Warren campaign who have been thinking about the economy the way that John Maynard Keynes thought about it. Not that there were these hard and fast rules where you could guarantee certain mathematical results by implementing particular policies, but that there are a set of values and a type of society that you want to realize, and a set of sort of psychological conditions that you want to inculcate in society. And that if you attend to those psychological needs of your democracy, then you will get results that are much more prosperous, that people will, in fact, make more money and produce more stuff. That also corresponds with the international picture. Keynesianism is not just a domestic project of domestic prosperity. It's about international harmony and finding ways for different countries with frankly different values to get along. And I think the relationship between the United States and China has not simply degraded. It's just never really made a whole lot of sense. And finding a way to, I think, decoupling may be too strong a word, but finding a way to not keep escalating the conflict between these two countries politically, while finding a way to economically for each country to take care of their own citizens. I think is a very serious project. And I don't have clear. I have a 12-point program to fix the relationship between the U.S. and China. But I think Keynes would have been able to say, we need to have a harmonious way to exist together. And in order to do that, we need to take care of our people. And there are some basic tools that the United States has never really implemented fully. We don't have a functional healthcare system in the United States. The pandemic is laying that bare for all to see, but it was really clear before the pandemic arose. Our social safety net is porous and stingy, and people do not have the support they need to embark on the creative kinds of lives, to take the risks, the entrepreneurial risks that we want to see people take to develop new ideas. And so our culture is not as vibrant as it could be. And I think he would tell Biden to attend to the type of world you want to see, not to the deficit or to the accounting technicalities that we associate with economics.
And so basically, look at the world you want and then reverse engineer it on some level. So let me just ask you this: lastly, why would he say? I have to ask this in this day and age. Why would he say that socialism? And I know that's a fairly broad term, but what would his issue be with that as a process? I mean, because it sounds like, to a certain extent, many of the things that we consider to be socialism today, from a policy prescription, he would have no issue with, right?
It's a very complicated word. It's just a very complicated word for Keynes. I mean, he was an anti-authoritarian, so he was this fierce critic of the Stalinist regime in Russia. He would not want to see gulags and things like that. He liked the idea of society being organized in such a way that people were able to realize a good life. So the policies that you need to organize that good life, he was fine with Social Security. He thought it was a great idea. There are people, including Milton Friedman, into the 1990s, who were saying that Social Security and progressive taxation were pure socialism.
Right.
Is that socialism? I mean, most people today do not think progressive taxation and Social Security are socialism. But if it is, then Keynes is definitely a socialist, right? Does Keynes want every industry in the country to be nationalized and to be put under the direct authority of the president? No, he would not want that. So he would be thinking about how to create policies that engineer prosperity. He would not have been dogmatic about a particular way to organize prosperity. There are some regions where of the economy where markets make perfect sense, and there are others where they don't make any sense at all. I think healthcare is a really clear example of that one. But he would not have been doctrinaire about this, which is one of the problems with the idea of Keynesianism as an economic doctrine. He was a very versatile thinker. He could move on his feet, and he changed his mind several times over the course of his life. So he would want society to address the problems of inequality and instability. He would have found those to be just disastrous, and he'd see those as an emergency that needed to be addressed with the same level of vigor and intensity that you would address, a foreign invasion in a war. And I think he would find